And welcome back to another episode of the Double Doink Podcast. My name is Brendan D. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We're talking strictly Philadelphia Eagles. We are going to talk about the first Eagles preseason game. We're going to wrap that up. Some interesting storylines coming out from that game. The day that Tanner McKee came into our hearts, Thomas.
Tanner McKee.
Speaking of Thomas, this is Thomas Petersen. What's going on?
Football is back.
It was exciting. It was cool. It was cool to see them in their jerseys. It was cool. Just
there were people in Eagles jerseys running around on a football field.
What did you make of like them having to Jalen Hurts, Jason Kelsey? They were all in full uniform. Like you couldn't just get these guys jogger shorts and t-shirts to watch. Like they had to really get dressed up and
I think it's more to get the whole pregame setting going, like getting in the locker room, putting on the gear, warming up, getting that whole pregame routine in before the regular season kicks in. Also, I think there's kind of an element to it as to where nobody is at a status where they're too fine to suit up in a preseason game. Like I kind of dig that. So it's the same thing in practice, that nobody's at a level where they can't be coached hard. Like that whole thing we saw last week here with Jalen Hurts getting yelled at by Nick Sirianni because of a 2-minute drill where he ran the ball and didn't hand the ball off to a referee when they were in a time stress situation. Sirianni let Hurts have it. And afterwards, both Hurts and Sirianni said that nobody on this team is privileged to a point where they don't need coaching. And so I guess it's kind of the same vein as to nobody's privileged to where they shouldn't be suiting up in a preseason game. Like you might not be one of those guys that are going to play, but it kind of sends a symbol to the rest of the guys battling for a roster spot that you're part of the team. Like everybody's in it together.
Yeah, no, you're right. Get through the process of being together. I just thought it was funny. Like you had Jalen Hurts in full attire, and you just knew there was zero chance that he was going to play. But it was expected. I don't know. I'm assuming there's a couple concussion Uncle Eagle fans out there that are going like, "Why aren't the starters playing?" and all this nonsense. Go watch. Was it the Jets last year? Remember that hit that Jalen Hurts took in the preseason? Go watch that hit, and then that will kind of smooth your mind and go, okay. Maybe the Eagles starters shouldn't be playing in preseason. And
we got that like last year. It was pretty obvious that for Nick Sirianni, the joint practices is the preseason games. Mm-hmm. Like that is the ramp up where you're really going at it competitively against other teams. Like they don't need the games to do that.
And they have two coming out the gate, right? Like you have today off. The Eagles have Sunday off, and then they're jumping right back into joint practices against the Cleveland Browns Monday, Tuesday. So let's talk about, before we kind of get into the game, let's just talk about some quick depth chart notes. So the running back position, let's start there. Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott did not play today or yesterday. Rashad Penny and Kennedy Brooks got the running back reps for the Eagles, and Trey Sermon as well. So those four all saw playing time. Rashad Penny, Thomas, leading the Eagles in carries with 9. That kind of caught me off guard a little bit. I thought they were going to basically just keep him healthy and try to get him as minimal contact as possible during the preseason and join practice or whatever kind of preseason activity that they're going through, just because he's battled so many injuries in the past. So I was a little shocked by that. But
did Trey Sermon not have? Did he have 10? Or I thought Trey Sermon was still.
Trey Sermon and Rashad Penny both had 9.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, and also in that vein, can we just quickly throw out there that Rashad Penny is a million times better than Trey Sermon?
Yes. Trey Sermon is not making this roster.
Thank you.
I was never, we talked about last episode, I was never buying the Trey Sermon over Boston Scott hype from the start. And I think just
Boston Scott, and also not Rashad Penny as well. Because there's been circulating reports from some of the beat writers that Trey Sermon has looked every bit the same as Rashad Penny. Well, there you go. I mean, this was kind of the game where you saw that Rashad Penny just makes things happen when the blocking isn't right in front of him.
Mm-hmm. That 9-yard run was really nice. I think it was a 9-yard run where he got himself small, the hole kind of opened up and he popped through it. So I really like that. Some other quick depth chart notes. Tyler Steen starting at left tackle. I thought that was pretty telling as well.
And then moved to right guard later in the game as well.
Yeah, so we talked about it last episode as well, where I think Tyler Steen will be the starting left tackle kind of by maybe week 1 might be a little too early, but week 2, week week 3, maybe just like before the first month ends of September. He started at left tackle in Alabama. Like, he played all those snaps. Like, this is a legit prospect that they took high in the 3rd round. They're going to want to utilize him as early as possible, get him kind of game ready for the beginning of preseason. And then I think Dennis Kelly was the backup left tackle behind him. Here's a question for you. If, let's say, week 1, Jordan Mailata goes down in the first half, who do you think comes in as
at left tackle?
At left tackle.
Tyler Steen.
Okay. I think I'm with you. Do you think, like, do they use Jack Driscoll maybe at left tackle? No, you think he's strictly on the right side?
Okay. Yeah, I think Tyler is the best left tackle prospect on the team.
I agree.
Outside of Jordan Mailata, naturally. Doesn't need to be said.
Any other offensive line notes? I think that was kind of the main one with Tyler Steen.
I think Tyler Steen looked really good. His drive block and transition up to the second level and those zone combinations look really good. I thought his footwork was terrific off the edge. He was going against Ojabo from the Ravens and one other guy. His name is so close to Ojabo. I don't remember. But some guys, really good speed rushers off the edge. He had good footwork, took good angles on them. I think he pretty much shut everything down that was coming to that side. Really good debut for him. Like, to be a rookie on an offensive line here, going from left tackle and then mid game switching to right guard and do it pretty flawlessly. It is very impressive to me. That just shows how far he is. Like, the whole mindset of one changing left side to right side, how your footwork completely flips in terms of how you're dropping. Is impressive. And also going from tackle to guard, where on the tackle spot you're much more focused on the angle of which the pass rusher coming at you, and in the guard position you're more focused on your leverage when you're taking on somebody on the inside. I think that was really impressive from Tyler Steen. So even though Cam Jurgens has pretty easily beaten him out, or obviously beaten him for the right guard starting position, I think it's very, very promising for Tyler Steen what he showed in this game. And he's not had a bad camp at all, but this preseason game was A-, I would say.
Wide receiver position, so they were very thin at wide receiver yesterday. So Nick Sirianni said that Quez Watkins and Britton Covey are dealing with hamstring injuries. So that means that Olamide Zaccheaus also didn't play because the Eagles have joint practices coming up Monday, Tuesday with the Cleveland Browns. My guess is because Britton Covey and Quez Watkins are probably going to miss some time for a little bit, so they're probably not going to be out there for the joint practice. So they're going to be using Olamide Zaccheaus a lot on Monday and Tuesday. So he's basically categorized as a starter that rested with the rest of them for the first preseason game. So we saw a lot of Joseph Nada. We saw a lot of Tyree Cleveland. He led the team in 10 targets. Greg Ward just refuses to go away. Thomas, he is back, baby. That was I messaged you after. I'm like, it's pretty funny that Greg Ward kind of looks like the best depth chart receiver. We were talking last episode as well, like, who's the bottom of the depth chart guy that we're looking forward to? You brought up Joseph Nada. It's Greg Ward. Greg Ward shines the most. Of course he does. And then at tight end, we saw Dan Arnold, Grant Calcaterra, Jack Stoll, Tyree Jackson. All those guys did play. Dallas Scott was the only one that didn't.
Dan Arnold was disappointing in the limited amount of work he had. That catch he has crossing over the middle on I think it was a 3rd and 8 or something like that, and he was 2 yards shy of a first down. I was very disappointed he wasn't able to pick up the first down there. Had a lot of room to work with. He just kept going laterally instead of vertical and into the defender, and then truck up forward for some more yards and pick up the first. That was a very disappointing scenario. Mariota was extremely off on a couple of passes to Grant Calcaterra, who had beautiful separation coming on a deep crosser. So I think Grant did everything he could. Not his fault that Mariota was off there.
It airmailed them, like it wasn't even close.
Yeah, that was easy. I don't know what happened there, but that was the Mariota experience, I guess. One of my best friends, is a huge Falcons fan.
Really? I don't know a Falcons fan. That's interesting.
Yeah, God bless him. I don't know what we joked for many years that we were fans of terrible bird franchises that couldn't win Super Bowls. And then Eagles won, and Eagles have been so good since. So now I just feel kind of bad for him. But he kept banging the drum yesterday on how Marcus Mariota was just an absolute roller coaster, and that he would never really be any good, but they would always be in games. And I was always like, I mean, he looked good with the Raiders for like when he got some playing time there, and he was a pretty talented guy. And now you're just seeing it in full effect. It's a mess when you're watching him play, man. It's so up and down.
His running, like I like his running ability, and I'm assuming the Eagles like that as well. Like he did carry the ball. He took some big hits. It's like he carried the ball 9 times. Sorry, 4 times for 29 yards. He had that nice 14-yard run, but like he was taking some big hits. He just seems like a guy like who would struggle to stay healthy. I know he did. I think he did stay pretty healthy last year, but like it's preseason, dude. Like you don't have to you don't have to duck your shoulder. Like you're getting paid. Like you don't really need to be taking all these hits here. So
Marcus Mariota is the type of guy where, like, he's the kind of quarterback you look at and you say, well, running quarterback doesn't work in the NFL because he's not really good at passing the ball. Like he can't add the passing game to his game as to where so it becomes very like just running and taking big hits. Where Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts are kind of the ones where you have the running, but then you add the passing element to it as to where they don't have to be runners. It's just an added skill that they have. So you look at Ian Book and Marcus Mariota, not to put them both in the exact same boat there, but they're just run first, pass. Like you don't want them to throw the ball, basically.
We saw Tanner McKee, Thomas.
McKee
came in for his first Eagles action. He was probably my favorite player of the night. Like I can't even stress it. It was really because we've. As an Eagles fan, and I'm a sicko and I watch every preseason game basically for the last however many years. We've seen some bad preseason quarterback play. I don't know if you remember Tim Tebow. That was a disaster. Christian Hackenberg. Oh my God, that was a disaster. I'm trying to think of some other bad ones that we've had, but like Tanner McKee legit looked like he belonged. He looked like he definitely beats out Ian Book for the third job. We'll get into Ian Book in a second, but this guy's got it. Like a 6th-round pick. The Eagles definitely, I think, won on the scouting department there. Sounds like they kind of found something in this guy. His final stats were 10.
Nick Mullins.
Yeah, 10 for 20. Yeah, Nick Mullins is one. Yeah. Oh my God. I remember the Nick Mullins experience.
I'm just going through a couple of years here. Just a Nate Sudfeld.
Yep. Nate Sudfeld started for the Lions on Friday night, I believe. He threw an interception.
Joe Callahan, 2018.
I don't remember a Joe Callahan. That one might have skipped me.
Yeah.
It's been bad.
The Eagles it's not fond memories.
Eagles had some bad preseason quarterback play, and getting Tanner McKee in was a breath of fresh air. 10 for 20, 148 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. I think his stats can even better. That Joseph Nada throw was really nice on the offensive pass interference. That rip to Johnny King over the middle was really impressive for 31 yards. The back shoulder throw to Tyree Cleveland. Him and Tyree Cleveland just turned into like the best quarterback receiver duo in the league in preseason. I was really impressed with Tanner McKee, Thomas.
Matt McGloin.
I remember Matt McGloin. Yep.
Dane Evans. What the hell are these guys?
Yeah. Dane Evans is a real human.
I thought
Dane Evans is a real human.
He was 10 for 20, and that line is, I think, is misleading. Like he was more accurate than 10 for 20 would indicate. I think he put some really good balls out there for Tyree Cleveland and Joseph Nada in position where they're able to make the play and them only. Some of them contested catches where like you're banging on the receiver or you're banking on the receiver to make that play, and sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't. It's what these guys in the preseason are longing for at the receiver position because it gives them a chance to show what they can do. Tyree Cleveland made the most of that 100%. I think he also showed some really good late hands on some contested passes. You can tell that he's been learning from AJ Brown for sure. But yeah, Tanner just looked he looked calm. He looked like he's been doing this for a long time. And his pocket movement was really good. He was moving around very relevantly to what the pass rush was. He wasn't bailing out the pocket when he didn't need to, and also he created some time when the edges were collapsing around him. He stepped up nicely. He moved out the pocket a couple times. He's not a runner, but he picked up 8 yards and on a scramble as well. That was a good decision for him to make at that point there. He executed an RPO play for a third down conversion as well. So overall, I think in this game, Tanner looked every bit more of a QB2 than a QB3 over Marcus Mariota. Of course, it's a small sample, but it's always nice when you have a quarterback who hits guys when they're open. And that just wasn't the case with Mariota in this game right here. So obviously, Mariota isn't going to be cut or anything. He's a lock to make it to the team at this point, especially when Ian Book is as garbage as he is. So you're going to need 3 QBs on the roster. And the Eagles can go out there and they can say that Mariota is the QB2 or list him as a QB2 in the depth chart, mainly of the money. But if we see this here again every preseason game and Tanner does well in the joint practices, there's no reason why Tanner shouldn't be the QB2 in the minds of the Eagles, and where they can ship Mariota off whenever his contract expires next year, and then Tanner McKee can be the backup. I know I'm taking this a step like a larger step.
I think but definitely the conversation needs to be had. Yeah,
big picture, you're going to have Tanner McKee for 3 years behind Jalen Hurts and learn from him and basically be that cheap, talented backup quarterback because we know they're 2 very different quarterbacks, but if Tanner can execute an RPO offense and just be accurate and get the ball out to his guys, that's what you want. Then it doesn't matter what kind of scheme it is. You can always make an offense work with that.
Kind of reminds me of Nick Foles a little bit. Did you get the Nick Foles vibe? Like the size, they're bigger.
I didn't, but I know what you mean now.
Yeah, like I kind of got they kind of aesthetically were the same to me a little bit. But yeah, it's a conversation.
White
definitely
tall
have,
QBs that are unathletic, or
yeah, basically. Yeah. That's basically where I was going. I think it's definitely the right conversation to have because, like, I think the more you see Tanner McKee, like if he keeps playing like this, the leash for Marcus Mariota just gets shorter and shorter and shorter. Let's say you do have to throw Marcus Mariota into the fire at some point of the season and he just doesn't play well right at the gate. Like the Eagles need to win games. This is the NFL. You can't let snaps and plays go by. And if Mariota can't handle it, then you have Tanner McKee behind there. I think the Eagles won't hesitate to throw Tanner McKee in there. Like I do think the QB2 conversation at this point is a little early just because like they paid Marcus Mariota money. They planned for him to be the backup. He's going to be the backup week 1. I don't think no matter what Tanner McKee does, Marcus Mariota will be the number 2 quarterback. He's led a team to the playoffs at one point in Tennessee. He has so many career starts. He just has that leverage over McKee. But just even big picture, like you brought up how cheap he is. I was taking a look at his contract yesterday and I have it in front of me as well. Like 2024, $960,000 cap hit. 2025, 1.076 cap hit. 2026, 1.191 million cap hit. This is a very cheap quarterback. To have a cheap quarterback like this as your number 2 potentially is very valuable to your roster going forward. So if they really have a number 2 quarterback in Tanner McKee, absolute home run pick for the Eagles.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just good to see like one of these guys that I know a lot of draft sites were much higher on Tanner and had him like behind C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young. Then some had Tanner McKee as that 4th quarterback. And to be honest, just the little bit of I watched Anthony, C.J. and Bryce, Tanner looked better for a first preseason action. He was smart with the football. He didn't throw any passes out there where you thought, ooh, that could have been intercepted or did get intercepted or made bad reads or anything like that. He was smart with the football. He put the ball on a dime on some deep passes and like intermediate passes for his guys out there. I thought that was a really promising debut.
Yeah, like that rip to Johnny King over the middle on 3rd and 11 was like super impressive. And like this with backup offensive lineman in front of him, and like seeing him throw the ball past the sticks, like you said on the 3rd and 11th throw, is very encouraging because there was a lot of reports at a camp that he was like keeping throwing to the short of the sticks. He was kind of being safe with it.
Then he goes right out in the game and does the exact opposite. I like that.
Fuck it, I'm slinging this bad boy. I loved the Tanner McKee performance. I thought he kind of stole the show tonight. And 100%. The guy that did not steal the show tonight was Ian Book. Oh my God, I don't ever want to watch Ian Book play football for the Philadelphia Eagles again. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, you basically know at this point when Ian Book is in the game in the preseason, it's garbage time. It's just get this game over with.
1 for 4, and he played like basically 2 quarters. he just kept
I'll
running.
see how many
Like, he
snaps
kept
he
running
played,
back.
and yeah, give me
He
1
was
second here. I'll throw the snap. I'll find you the snap count, and you
he
can
would
see
just kept like
because it wasn't because it wasn't because they weren't calling pass plays. He just refused to throw the ball.
he just kept running backwards. Like he would just take off. The guy thought he was Michael Vick out there
17 snaps.
because it was 3 and out every drive. So like he probably had like 4 or 5 drives maybe and mixed in there. And like I love how Eli Ricks makes an incredible pick six, runs the ball back. It's 2019. The Eagles have potential to break the Ravens' 23 game postseason win streak. And then Ian Book throws a fade route like 4 seconds into the play for the 2-point conversion that didn't even stand an absolute chance. He was rough. He's not making this roster.
It was
this
bad.
is the game that Tanner McKee. Like, there's no competition anymore in my point. In my
No.
book, like it's Tanner McKee's.
In your Ian Book?
Yeah, in my Ian Book. Pun City at the Double Line Podcast. So yeah, it's
early.
It's Tanner McKee, number 3 quarterback. He won a start. He won a roster spot yesterday. Any other offensive notes? The running backs quickly. I thought DeAndre Swift looked really explosive. That 21-yard run was really nice. Rashad Penny looked nice. So this running back room is just very deep, Thomas. To have like Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift getting carries for you in the preseason when you already have 2 running backs not playing, I think is really cool.
Bearing something unforeseen happening, we know now that DeAndre Swift, Kenny Gainwell, Rashad Penny, and Boston Scott are making the roster.
Yeah. What I was thinking about last night is, like, even last year I didn't feel like this. Like if Miles Sanders went down, like you're still, I don't know how comfortable you are in Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott. I would be comfortable in Kenneth Gainwell even as a rookie, but some other people wouldn't. As you're an Eagles fan right now, you have to feel comfortable knowing that one of those 4 guys, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, Rashad Penny, and DeAndre Swift, if you have to feature them and the other guys are hurt throughout for a game, you're comfortable with that. Like, I'm fine with Boston Scott being RB1 for a game. I'm fine with DeAndre Swift being RB1 for a game. Like, they have 4 legit running backs who can shoulder the load for this team in a single game.
Yeah. And just to go back on the Miles Sanders thing, just to get some hot take city out here in the preseason, that move that DeAndre Swift put on 37, I think was Malik Harrison, his name is, or what, I don't know. So you have a free Ravens linebacker safety type guy come right in there, and Swift just freezes him totally up and then jukes him to the side, runs for about 15 yards, trucks another safety, and picks up another 5 yards there. Miles Sanders couldn't do that.
No.
He wouldn't be able to physically do that, like pull off that move.
DeAndre Swift's only 24 years old.
Yeah. Georgia, baby.
I was watching some Georgia highlights last night of him. Like, he is this is like his prime. Like, the Eagles got him like in probably the perfect year.
Yeah, the same thing with him goes with Rashad Penny, though. It's that health factor.
Mm-hmm. If you're like me, you were tired of trying to find jeans that fit right no matter your build and still look good. Introducing the newest sponsor of the Double Doink Podcast, Sweat Tailor, a premium menswear brand that is defining a new kind of casual. I started wearing Sweat Tailor and I am blown away by how comfortable and affordable the clothes are. And of course, they look great. My favorite is the all-in pants. It's a 5-pocket pant that feels like sweats but look way better. Thoughtfully tailored and unbelievably stretchy. From jackets and pants to joggers and hoodies, Sweat Tailor's designs are made to seamlessly fit into your life, moving from runway to office, office to drinks, and drinks to wherever the night takes you. Specializing in casual wear for men, pieces are designed with comfort and versatility in mind for your everyday. Use promo code BDEEGST. That is BDEEGST for 25% off. That again is BDEEGST for 25% off your order at sweattailor.com. Okay, let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball. So just some quick depth chart things before we kind of dive into who played, who didn't. Who played well. Sorry. So defensive line, we saw all the starters didn't play, but Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith did play. Linebacker Christian Ellis and Nicholas Morrow were the starters. Nakobe Dean, and then at safety Terrell Edmonds and Kayvon Wallace were the starters. No Reed Blankenship. So let's start at the safety position, Thomas. I was really impressed with Kayvon Wallace. He looked
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
He looked good.
Agree. For all the shit that I've been talking about, Kayvon Wallace, you got to give him his props. He had a good game. He wrapped up well. He rallied in the running game. He looked fast coming down from the safety spot in the running game. To finish the first half, there were a couple of dink plays or like some easy 5 outs that they got before Justin Tucker hit a 60-yard field goal where it's a situation where you just know Kayvon is being told, like, don't give up the big play. You need to play backed off coverage, and so naturally that creates some more distance there to hit those easy 5 yards outs. And yeah, if you're banking on a kicker making a 60-yard field goal, you kind of want as a defense if you're putting him in that spot. So can't fault him for that. He made a good play before that. There were a lot of times, I think I counted a handful of times where Ravens are dumping it off in the flat. First DB coming up misses. Greedy Williams had some terrible missed tackles in the flat. And then afterwards, you see Kayvon Wallace come up there and he just obliterates a guy who just catches the ball. Like, he punished whoever was in the flat. He forced a fumble as well. I believe they ruled it a catch and a fumble. So yeah, really impressed with Kayvon Wallace in this game. Good game for him. And also Terrell Edmonds, I thought, played really physical football in the first quarter as well. Yeah, for as much love as we've been giving Sidney Brown, I think Terrell Edmonds made a really good case for starting safety yesterday, just based on his level of physicality that he brought on the field yesterday.
I think Eagles fans should be encouraged with all three of them, like how Terrell Edmonds, Sidney Brown, and Kayvon Wallace played. I thought Sidney Brown was motoring around the defense in the second half. He looked just as athletic as you thought he would be. He had 9 tackles leading the team, all solo tackles. I thought he looked really, just really athletic and looked like he belonged. Now, there wasn't like any really pass breakups or any like kind of pass defense that you were kind of hoping for, but I thought he looked the part, and I think after that performance, he will definitely see some first team reps. They're going to try to kind of evaluate him more with the first team. But yeah, Terrell Edmonds, Kayvon Wallace, Sidney Brown all played really well. And I think, like, I don't even think it's kind of close to dictating who's going to start at safety yet. Like, I still think there's so much time and there's still so much more evaluating to do. I think all three of these guys have a shot at winning that job. We talked before, Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown would be the ideal starting safety duo if you're an Eagles fan, just like the youth, like having a 3rd round pick like Sidney Brown and using that value starting right away would be a good sign. Reed Blankenship, of course, starting right away would be a good sign. He's going to start right away. So I think all three of these guys have a shot, and I think that's probably the training camp battle to watch going forward. Anything else on the safeties?
Reed Blankenship, how awesome is it that he gets the day?
Doesn't even play.
I think it's terrific because it just goes to show how well he's been doing in practice from their point of view.
What a journey, man! Like they haven't even like hesitated to make Reed Blankenship a starter. Like they like basically from spring as well. Like he was starting right out the gate in spring.
It's great. He earned every bit of it.
Linebacker position. Let's go. Actually, let's go to corner. Let's stick in the secondary. So, Greedy Williams, I thought did not play well at all. Nope. He whiffed on that tackle that kind of put the Ravens in field goal range for that 60-yard kick. Yeah. He was kind of getting bullied just from the wide receivers, like the Ravens 4th, 5th, 6th wide receivers. I don't think Greedy Williams is making this roster now. I think not even just from yesterday, like even at training camp, there's been reports that he hasn't been playing well. So it doesn't look like he's going to be a contributor for the Eagles this season at all. But I thought the young Eagles corners looked pretty good. Like Eli Ricks, I thought kind of got off to a little bit of a bumpy start. He said after the game that he went into the locker room, got the iPod out, watched a bunch of tape. He said he was noticing that the Ravens were throwing to the boundary a lot outside the numbers. He definitely studied that. And then he made that like great read on that pick 6, jumped the route, was sticky the entire way through. Great play. Just a hell of a play from Eli Ricks.
Yeah, agree. And really right now, I think Greedy Williams is at the bottom of that bracket. I mean, Greedy Williams, based on what we saw yesterday, shouldn't be making this roster.
No.
It's very clear that right now it's the Ringo, Ricks, and Joby show on the backup cornerback spots.
They're probably. Do you think they keep 7 corners now? Like, I don't know how you can you let Eli Ricks get through waivers? Like,
not with the way he's playing right now. But
yeah,
I didn't see too much Eli Ricks, to be honest. Aside from that pick six, it wasn't really like they didn't target him a ton. From what I saw, they went after Mario Goodrich a couple of times, who let up some.
He also looked okay. I thought Goodrich looked okay.
Looked okay.
Yeah.
Definitely not to the same extent. I think Josh Joby, he got called for illegal contact. It's, I guess, like you can make the call, but it was a little bit weird. I think he made a good play. He stuck right with Say Flowers, all the way through there on that route. I think Justin Evans for the safety position played worse than the backup cornerbacks did. So, like, usually it becomes like a numbers game with the DBs in a collective group. So I think they might keep more overall like cornerbacks and then less safeties if they have that much talent. Because I think you're right. Like, Eli Ricks is not going to be a guy that you're going to be able to let off of waivers if he continues to play well. And
he has
he's
Alabama
21
like
years old, so
yeah, like he's Alabama pedigree too, like Coach Saban. Like teams are going to see that, and they would be able to snag him off waivers. So I think the idea of keeping 7 corners right now is still a possibility. Like usually, like you like to keep 6. Like 6 is even like some teams only keep 5. Like 6 is still a lot. Like they have so much young talent at the position, and you don't really want to let them out the building. And I don't think they're going to let Eli Ricks out the building right now. And I don't think they want to. They're definitely not letting Keely Ringo out the building. So it's between you got Ricks and Job, and they like them both. So I think there's definitely going to be conversations to be had with Howie and just the scouting department and Nick Sirianni, where they're going to have to make some tough calls here at the cornerback position.
I think other guys, Josiah Scott and Mekhi Garner, are facing a real uphill battle to make the roster. I think they're going to be out if we're continuing this trend that we've been seeing in the first part of camp and this game. Of course, a lot of it will also come down to the joint practices and going up against different type of wide receivers and one-on-ones they're going to be up against there.
Like Josiah Scott played into the fourth quarter yesterday, and he was like, think about that. He played like he was. Did he start that Cowboys game with Gardner Minshew? I believe like he was like he had legit playing time that game. So to go from that to playing in the fourth quarter of the preseason game, but kind of behind guys like Eli Ricks and stuff, he's not going to make this roster.
No, I don't think so either. Something has to really drastically happen with him, and also he's been a liability when he played last year. And so right now, it looks pretty clear that it's been Sec McPherson and Avonte Maddox in the slot.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Zach McPherson was right out the gate, the nickel corner. Like they don't even have him at the outside right now. He's the nickel cornerback right now.
But he's also the best guy for that spot on the team. So I think you're right. I think they're going to be keeping more cornerbacks so that they have the versatility of having 2 designated slot cornerbacks, Bradbury and Slay on the outside, and then interchangeably, probably for right now, it's going to be Josh Jobe, Eli Ricks, and Ringo as the primary outside backups there. So
that's really deep. Like that's a really good quarterback room.
That's 7 guys. I mean, it's a lot of spots to put to the cornerback position, and it's a product of not having guys who are able to play the slot.
I also thought it was interesting that Zach McPherson returned some punts. So they didn't have Britton Covey, they didn't have Boston Scott, and I think there's one more in Quez Watkins. So those are the 3 punt returners that were ahead of Zach McPherson. So he had to return some punts. He looked like a natural. I thought he looked good. It's something you didn't see from him. He was also at the back of the end zone for the 60-yard field goal with Justin Tucker to potentially return it. So they see some return value in him. Zach McPherson's going to be on this roster. So I was really impressed with the Eagles secondary yesterday. Okay, let's move over to the linebacker position. So like I said, Nicholas Morrow and Christian Ellis got the start. Really impressed with Christian Ellis. He's got some nice closing speed. I thought he looked really good in the few snaps he had. I also like Nicholas Morrow, Thomas. I thought
Morrow played well. I mean, he caught my eye from what was from my perspective a pretty dull linebacker game. I didn't see too much from the other guys in there. I think Cunningham,
like a Ben Van Sumeren.
Goodness gracious, he was bad.
I didn't think he played very well.
I think Zach and Miles looked not good. Zach was okay, but I think Christian Ellis and Morrow outplayed them by a pretty wide margin. I really liked the aggressiveness of Morrow. There was a tight end screen that he blew up completely. He was flowing well to the ball on outside plays. I didn't notice too much with Christian Ellis. I don't know why. I think I was watching a lot of Nolan Smith in that couple series when they were in there. So yeah, I not any strong opinions on Christian Ellis on my part. I thought Nicholas Morrow really stood out on a couple plays.
I think Christian Ellis is going to start, Thomas. I think he's
right now it looks like it's either going to be Morrow or Ellis.
Yeah.
And they might go with Morrow just based on the experience.
I think Cunningham and Jack it's a little tough to evaluate the first preseason game with them, getting some more time, know the defense a little more. But like we said last episode, like I think Eagles fans should be very halt their expectations for these two. It's not even a lock that they'll make the roster at this point. But we also lost Sean Bradley to a leg injury yesterday as well. Didn't look good. He was carted off the field, so it doesn't look like he'll be around this season, and that means that there's a linebacker spot open up. So the Eagles are probably going to be adding a linebacker in free agency over the next couple of days. Poor Sean Bradley. I like Sean Bradley. Personality's awesome. Just seems like a really nice guy, really cool guy. The screen.
Did they come out with anything of the severity yet?
Have not yet, but he got carted off. Couldn't put any weight on his right leg. Sirianni gave him a hug as he was going. He was in tears. So those are pretty good signs that it was a serious injury of some sort. But I'm assuming we'll find out more tomorrow. Maybe there's a
report. I like Sean Bradley.
Maybe like one of the big dogs like Pelissero, Rappaport, or Schefter have a report today on it, but we probably won't know anything until Monday when Nick Sirianni speaks to the media. And I think that's it at linebacker. Defensive line, Jalen Carter, baby. We got our first glimpse of that. I think I've watched that clip 40 times today.
Yeah. 2 snaps, 2 wins, and 1 QB hit. I mean,
just threw Ben Cleveland out the way like he was a rag doll. Really impressive. Like that was, I think when you look back and remember this game, you'll think of Tanner McKee, of course, and then you'll think of that Jalen Carter play.
Yeah. That was everything I hoped for. Really, just from the entire defense. Like seeing Jalen Carter just be that guy. Like we talked about who we were looking forward to the most in this game, and I said Jalen Carter wasn't my number one guy because I know what he's about. Like we've seen it. You've seen the tape of it. You know what's in that body and what he's capable of. And it just popped immediately. Yeah. So bubble wrap, get ready for the season.
Play 2. I'm fine with 2 snaps for the next.
I just need to see those one-on-ones and joint practices.
Yeah. But I want to see the Philadelphia Eagles social media team should get like a nice Jason Kelce for Jalen Carter rep out for the fans. Something or like a Landon Dickerson Carter rep. One like 2 big dogs going at it. But yeah, that Jalen Carter rep.
Who plays guard for the Browns? They're going to have joint practices with the Browns now.
I know Michael Dunn is on there. Michael Dunn is the husband of Marissa Morris, who's a producer for the Birds with Friends show. Love Michael Dunn.
Joel Bitonio. Wyatt Teller.
Yeah, they've got some good. They've got some legit guards. Like there's going to be some reps that they'll probably be able to see.
Also got Luke Whippler, rookie out of Ohio State, guy that I really liked. Undersized, so should whip him around pretty well. Yeah, Jalen Carter was phenomenal, man. I was also very impressed before we get to the to Nolan Smith, who obviously going to be talking about as well. Moro Ujomo stood out to me.
Yeah, baby, Moro Ujomo looked great. He looked awesome.
He looked so explosive. It didn't produce any hits or sacks or anything like that, but he was so quick. Like he collapsed the pocket multiple times. He looked explosive. He looked good in the stunt game as well. Like stunting around to the outside and taking on an offensive tackle. Good handwork. Really impressed with Morrow. I think outside of Jalen Carter, he was the best guy on the D-line yesterday.
He was consistently beating his blockers, consistently getting through, consistently getting pressure. I thought he looked great. He really stood out to me. He was probably the best. Besides Jalen Carter's play, he was the defensive lineman that stood out the most to me. I wasn't too impressed with Marlon Tiapolotu. I thought he kind of got set up a few times. Any other defensive line notes before we get to Nolan Smith? Because I think we have
Janaris Robinson made a few plays.
Yeah, he looked
in
pretty good.
late in the third quarter and fourth quarter. He got some plays in where I was looking at the on our lads going like, who is 59?
I saw Robinson. I'm like, Robinson. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, right. The guy that they picked up from the Vikings last year.
Yeah. He got injured last year, I think. So we didn't. Yeah. I think he got waived with an injury settlement there, and then got brought back on the IR.
He's the guy that'll probably keep in the building. Like, I don't think you want to let that guy go. It looks like just because Derek Barnett was the first team edge rusher yesterday, defensive end. Sounds like Derek Barnett kind of sounds like he's got it locked up. Like, I thought there would be some like maybe competition between Janaris Robinson and Derek Barnett. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. Looks like
Derek didn't do anything.
Yeah,
it was hardly noticeable he was on the field.
Nolan Smith, I thought there was definitely some growing pains at the beginning. I thought he overcommitted a couple of times. He was kind of responsible for that big long run, but I think that's fine.
I want to slam the table on that. No, he was not. That was a broken offensive play. There was a stretch to the left side. Whenever you have a stretch going away from you, you can do two things. You can crash the line, or you can go in a straight ankle and pursue it downfield. If he reads that he is across from the line, he shouldn't be taking an angle going across there on the backside of the offensive line, because he's never going to be able to pursue it down. Nolan Smith has the speed as to where if you pitch it to the opposite field, going down the sideline, he can catch him before they score a touchdown. That's what they mean by hustling from a defensive end position. If you're going if you take the right angle down the field, you can catch him before they score a touchdown. So you can do either two things. You can crash the line, or you can take an angle where you're running downfield. He took an angle. He's running downfield because he read this is going all the way to the backside. I want to take the angle down the field. And then everything crashed on that side, and they cut back.
Okay.
So two things can happen there, and we don't know which one is the right thing. If he's the backside responsibility guy, if he's the contain guy on a play like that, and it's not always that. Sometimes that can be a cornerback or a safety or a linebacker, depending on what rules they have on the defensive line in a stunting situation there. Because when the D-line disappears in front of you and you don't have a gap in that situation, you just go as far away as you can on that side. So we don't know that he's the responsible guy on that play. Maybe, but I think it's not. We can't judge that he was responsible for that play based on what we saw.
Like, not responsible. I thought he overcommitted. Like, I thought
but I'm not saying that you're. I'm just saying that's what's being written about him today. Yeah. That's what the perception of that. And
like, I don't think it's a big deal, anyways. Like,
it doesn't matter.
Like, I think he came out the gate firing. He wanted to make every play. Like, I completely understand. And he also said it after the game. Like, he said he was maybe going too fast sometimes. He said, like, it was his first game back. And I thought he played well. Like, I thought that pass rush move was really nice. I know the offensive tackle he went against was really tall and he was really small, so you can kind of dip under a little bit, but really like that dip move. I thought his traits definitely flashed. Like, they definitely popped. I think, like, just like the schematic stuff, maybe he didn't do just as right as you wanted to see, but I thought the Nolan Smith debut went just as well as it possibly could.
I think what was he had a couple of really good pass rushes where you can see he had a move lined up. He got some good speed rushes there as well. I know you highlighted a couple of them as well. Mm-hmm. But what really stood out to me was in the running game, because we know Nolan Smith is super athletic, but he's also very undersized for that position. And what was important for me to see is that he continued this trend that he did at Georgia of standing up guys, standing up offensive tackles in the running game. He did that. He was in full control, stood him up, had him in his full extended arms. He was able to shed a block and then go in and make a tackle in the running game. He did that very well and consistently, so nothing to be worried about there. I thought it was a fine performance for him here to begin with. Of course, everybody wanted sacks and pressures and all that kind of things. Like, he had 2 near sacks to end the first half there. One of them I know you put out a video about where he's getting the edge. Another one where he's stunting inside on the very next play, almost gets a sack there as well. So it's the same thing with Moro Ojomo. I think he flashed without any big plays.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah, I think the expectations maybe were a little too high from everyone. Like, again, he's been injured last season at Georgia, so it was his first game back. And again, the athletic traits were there, and that's what you want to see. Trying to think, is there anything else? One more love for Tanner McKee, our boy. And maybe he's the official Eagle of the Double Doink podcast this year. I was like in love last night. I remember I went to my mom. I'm like, Mom, you got to see this Eagles third string quarterback. Mom's like, I don't give a shit. Like, but I was all it was the Tanner McKee game. That's what I'm gonna remember it for. Anything else you want to get off your chest? I don't think there's anything else we need to talk about. First preseason game. Don't need to overreact to any big picture stuff. Nothing like that.
No, we're already back tomorrow. We got the joint practice is coming up with the Browns, so that's going to be. We know they value that more than games, and that's where we're going to get to see Jalen Hurts rip it, lighting up other defenses.
I like the joint practices. It's like the best content for just like Twitter wise and whatnot. You get the best clips. You get the best. Maybe we get a little fight breakout. Maybe we get some Eagles having each other's back, stuff like that. But anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Make sure to check out BetterHelp Sweat Taylor, our sponsors. Division preview series of Double Doink Podcast starts tomorrow. So if you're looking to kind of get accumulated with all the divisions, how everything's going to play out, the preview series, again, starts tomorrow. My favorite series at the podcast that we do is a division preview series. This is our 4th year doing it. Love it. So make sure to tune into that. And we will talk to you later.